Good morning everyone and welcome to my channel English Literature. Today we'll discuss about the War of Roses. Though the name is War of Roses, the road was not spread with roses but with blood. The war was mainly between the houses of Lancaster and York, and it has a long royal history. We have to learn about York and Lancaster, how these two houses developed and get entangled with each other. And it is just a war of, you can say, for 30 years. But this war ground was preparing for long ago. This war ground was preparing long ago. The gradual development of the York and Lancaster, two royal houses, their antagonism, it had a long history and we have to know about that history. Now, we'll start from the very first. Oh my god, you can think. Again William the Conqueror. Yeah, we'll start from William the First or the William the Conqueror. And it will help us to understand the gradual development, the break of ancestry and how these things happen. Otherwise, there are some terms you will not understand. You can get mixed with. So, William the Conqueror. What happened? Can we remember the Battle of Hastings? In Battle of Hastings, William the Conqueror defeated Harold and became the king. Battle of Hastings or Norman Conquest happened in 1066. So with Norman conquest, England's throne became the throne of also French. And French and England amalgamation, that amalgamation took place. So William the First, the Conqueror, and he had three children, two sons and one daughter. William the Second, Henry the First, and then Adela. And after Henry the First's death, Henry the First's daughter Matilda's son was very small, Henry the Second. So for some time, Stephen, Henry the First's sister's son, Stephen, was in the throne. Now, Henry the Second House of Plantagenet started. With Henry the Second, the House of Plantagenet started. Have you heard the term Plantagenet? So why with Henry II the House of Plantagenet started? Actually, what was the case? Henry II's mother was Matilda, and Matilda was the daughter of Henry I. So Matilda was married to whom? Count of Anjou. Count of Anjou. Matilda was married to Count of Anjou. It was a French province. And that's why that house was called Plantagenet, and that's why Henry II was the founder of House of Plantagenet. So Matilda was married to Count of Anjou, and their son Henry II was named after their house, that is House of Plantagenet. Now Henry II's mother was married to Geoffrey, the Count of Anjou, a province in France. This family was known as Plantagenet. Okay. Now Henry II has two sons. Henry II, House of Plantagenet. So Henry II, two sons, Richard the First and John. Have you cleared House of Plantagenet? You must clear every term and every point. It will help you to understand the history better. Whenever you read something like this term Plantagenet, oh, what is Plantagenet? You cannot get confused. And now, after John's death, among the sons and daughters of John, Henry III succeeded. Henry III had two sons and three daughters. Among them, only Edward I succeeded him. And after his death. And now, Henry III, Edward I, Margaret, Beatrice, Edmund, Crouchback, and Catherine. So Henry the Third has two sons and three daughters. Among these two sons, only Edward the First was in the throne; others were not. Now, Henry III of England created the Earldom of Lancaster for his second son, Edmund of Crouchback, in 1267. This is important. Henry III found that Edmund Crouchback was not so efficient to be a king, but as a father, he wished to do something for him, and that's why he created the Earldom of Lancaster. So here is the seed of Lancaster. Can you imagine? So Earl of Lancaster for his second son, Edmund Crouchback, in 1267. And after Henry III died, his first son, we have already told it, that Edward the First became king. And after him, Edward II, and then Edward III. Nothing was happening in that time, but when there's no problem till that. But when Edward III came in the throne, there happened something. Edward III has 5 sons. You know what happened then when Edward III came in the throne? Do you remember? Okay, we'll talk or discuss about that in our later videos. That was the 100 Years' War. Anyway, now come to the point. Edward III had 5 sons. Edward the Black Prince, who died in the 100 Years' War. Lionel, Duke of Clarence, John of Gaunt. You know this name very well because this name is associated with Chaucer. He was the patron of Chaucer. And Edmund, Duke of York, Thomas, Duke of Gloucester. Now the House of Lancaster had already started. So what about the House of York? The House of York started with the fourth son of Edward III, that is Edmund, Duke of York. So House of York started with Edmund, Duke of York. He was the founder of the House of York. So who was the first Lancaster? Second son, Edmund Crouchback. Henry the Third's second son, Edmund Crouchback. He was the founder of Lancaster. And afterwards, Edward the Third's third son, I think. So fourth son, Edmund, Duke of York, was the founder of York. Actually, Edmund III had all the sons, no daughter. Oh my God. Now, Edward III's third son, John of Gaunt, was the first Duke of Lancaster. So, Earldom of Lancaster, he founded. Henry III founded Earldom of Lancaster, this post, this value or this whatever, is for his second son, Edmund Crouchback. And the first Earl of that royal house was John of Gaunt. So, among the children of Edward III, one is the supporter of Lancaster. He is called the first Duke of Lancaster, and other is a supporter of York. So, how this royal house get divided? We all know that War of Roses started with House of Lancaster and House of York, who were the descendant of Edward III. But this history, though it is a bit entangled or looking at stuff, but I feel that it will clear the concept. It will clear the concept and leave nothing out of the reach to understand. Now this division happened. And next war. So the War of Roses was between the two royal houses who are the descendants of Edward III. When Edward III died, his eldest son Edward the Black Prince was already dead in the 100 Years' War. I have told you, Edward the Black Prince was already dead in 100 Years' War. So Edward the Black Prince's son Richard II became king. But he was a bad king. So he was deposed by Edward III's third son, John of Gaunt's son. Henry the Fourth. So who came in the power? Lancaster. Lancaster came in the throne because John of Gaunt was the Duke of Lancaster, and because Richard II was very bad king, he was deposed. So John of Gaunt's son Henry IV came in the power. We get this point in Chaucer's kingship because Chaucer has to face Richard II and Henry IV and also Edward III. In Chaucer's kingship, we found three names: Edward III, Richard II, and Henry IV. So during that time, we have read it already. History is quite like revision. So he was the first Lancasterian king, not duke. John of Gaunt was duke, but he was the first Lancasterian king who Henry IV. Now you can find this chart I make for House of Lancaster. Henry IV, then Henry V, and then Henry VI. But the problem started with Henry VI. Why? Let's see. Now, Lancasterians were the elder sons of Edward III. Do you remember? Lancaster, we have to see it again. Lancasterian, John of Gaunt, he was the third son. And he was the first, second, third. So, gradually their importance started. First, then second, then third. And who was fourth? York. So York was quite back. He was the fourth son. His claim was not so powerful. He was the number 4. But what happened? If number 4 get related to number 2, then what happened? 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is most powerful here, but if number 4 get related to number 2, then number 4 came in the place of number 2 and they became more powerful and they became united, and number 4 now became more powerful. So what is the puzzle? Okay, I am telling you what happened. Now Lancasterians were the elder sons of Edward III, and as they were seniors, their claims were more legal than the Yorkists. Edmund, Duke of 4, that is number 4, okay, who were comparatively younger anyway. But when his youngest son Richard, so number 4 son Richard, Duke of York, was married to Anne Mortimer, a descendant of Edward III's second son. So do you remember? That is the puzzle, that number 4 came in the place of number 2 because they get married and related. Lionel, Duke of Clarence. House of York gained the ground for claiming seniority. So as number 4 came in the place of number 2, so now 4 just just crossed 3. And so the claim of seniority. So number 4 now overtake number 3 and came in the position of number 2. You can see here that number 4 son get married to number 2 Lionel, Duke of Clarence, related to this house and this house. Okay. During the reign of Henry VI, Yorkists gained power. Why? I told you while discussing the Lancaster. There are 3 Lancasterian kings: Henry IV, Henry V, and Henry VI. But with Henry VI, the problem came. Why? Henry VI was very weak king, and he was suffering from an intermittent bout of insanity. So the kingship became weak and feeble, and already York has gained some power and authority, and now the king is weak. So there is 2 points that they can fight. In 1453, Henry suffered from a serious mental breakdown, and Richard, Duke of York, was made protector of the realm. Not the king, he was made the protector of the realm to supervise the kingship. But after 2 years, 1455, Henry VI recovered and regained his power. Civil war broke with the name of Roses. But after 2 years, Richard, the Duke of York, thinks, why I cannot be king? Why that madman will be king? I have all the power and capacity and qualities to be a king. So he did not want to give away his claim, and so the fighting start with Henry VI and Richard, Duke of York. The white rose is a symbol of Yorkist, and the red rose was a symbol of Lancasterian. So this war is named as War of Roses. Now Richard gathered a huge army and defeated Henry VI. Because people were also not supporter of Henry VI at that time because of continuous insanity, and as a result, the kingdom was in chaos. And after he died in 1460, his son Edward IV came to the throne and ruled till 1483. In the meantime, Henry VI returned temporarily from 1470 to 1471. But Edward retook the power, imprisoning Henry VI again. And he died or killed. After Edward's death, his brother Richard III asserted his son's right and deposed him. It is told that after Edward's death, his brother Richard III killed his two younger sons and just became the king. And Edward V, that the son who was killed, was ruled just for 78 days. Edward V ruled just for 78 days, and before he, along with his brother, died mysteriously. Now, people cannot tolerate it. They did not like it, and Richard III took control of the throne, killing those two younger sons of Edward. This cruel incident triggered revolt against him among the Yorkists. So now Yorkists became weaker. They get revolt against each other because of the Richard III's cruel act. So House of York, we can have a look. Edward IV, then Edward V was just for 78 days at his younger age, and he was killed along with his brother by Richard III, their uncle. And amidst this chaos, Henry Tudor, a descendant of John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, returned from exile with a big troop, and he took the throne as Henry VII, defeating and killing Richard III. Now, Henry VII killed Richard III and did another thing that is very important. He married Elizabeth of York. Okay, we have to return back to there. Here you can see, we just try to make it big, and here you can find that Henry VII, here it is Henry VII, he is going to marry Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is from the House of York and this House of Lancaster. So Henry VIII is going to marry Elizabeth, Edward IV's daughter, and in this way the War of Rose comes to a happy ending. Ding dong. So Henry VII did very politically good step, wise step actually it is. So Henry VII married Elizabeth of York and the eldest daughter of Edward IV. Thus both the House of York and the House of Lancaster united with the marriage ceremony. War of Roses ended, a happy ending. With Henry VII, a new, powerful and enlightened era started, that is Tudor Dynasty. Why? We have learned about Plantagenet, Lancaster here. Again Tudor, why? Because Henry VII's mother, Margaret Beaufort, was married to Edmund Tudor. Actually, what happened when we read the name like Tudor, again Plantagenet, York, Lancaster, Stuart, but we don't try to understand the origin. For why they became Tudor, why they are Tudor, and next to them are Stuart, why? And before them there are all Plantagenet, why? So all this why has some answer, just you have to dig it out. And if you read in this way, you will never forget anything, any point. Now Henry VII's mother, Margaret Beaufort, was married to Edmund Tudor, a member of the Tudor family of Penminid. Oh God, Tudor family of Penminid, North Wales. During Tudor's rule, England reached the highest peak of glory. It was a time of the Renaissance. the golden period of England. So the Plantagenet house that started with Matilda's son. Do you remember? Already forgot? Plantagenet house that started with Matilda's son, Henry the II, because Matilda was married to Plantagenet house. Great grandson of William of Normandy, divided into two royal houses, York and Lancaster. But they both were Plantagenet. After Plantagenets, there came Tudor. And the Plantagenet rule was succeeded by Margaret Beaufort's son, Henry VII, the Tudor. Ta-da! Isn't it a nice story? I think it is very interesting and nice story, and absorbing also. Okay. Thank you.